There is a question you may have never asked out loud, but have been carrying inside for a very long time. And that question has nothing to do with money, work, or the goals you haven't yet reached. That question is much deeper, much quieter, and much more uncomfortable. That question is, why do I feel like the days go by and I'm not moving forward? Why do I get up? Do I do what I have to do? Do I go back to bed? And the next day is exactly the same. Why does my family see me, but I feel like they don't know me? Why is there so much noise in my house and so little dialogue? Why are my children growing up and I don't know when I stop being present? I understand that feeling. I know it. I have lived it. I have been in that place where you think you are functioning because you provide, you work, you pay the bills, because there is food on the table, but something inside doesn't fit. There is a void that is not filled by achievements, purchases, or applause. And that void has a name that few dare to say: a lack of purpose in the everyday. Today, I want to talk about something that may seem simple, but has the power to completely change the way you live, the way you love, and the way you relate to your family and yourself. I want to talk to you about 7 habits. These aren't business productivity habits, magic formulas, or cheap motivational tricks. They are habits born from within, built with quiet discipline, humility, and patience, which, when practiced consistently, transform not just your day, but the entire atmosphere of your home. I grew up between 2 cultures, my father's Japanese culture and my mother's Colombian culture. And in that intersection of worlds, I learned something that left a lasting mark on me. Great changes don't come from grand speeches, they come from small acts repeated with intention. My father didn't give me long sermons. He didn't sit me down to explain life theories. He simply acted. He would get up early, tidy his space, greet others with respect, eat with gratitude, work with honor, and at the end of before sleeping, he would sit in silence for a moment. He wasn't a man of many words, but his life spoke with an eloquence no book could ever match. And as a child, I didn't understand why he did all of that. It seemed excessive. It seemed rigid. It seemed unnecessary until I grew up. Until life hit me. Until I understood that discipline isn't a prison. It's a structure that supports freedom. The first habit I want to talk to you about is rising before the sun. And I don't just mean waking up early for the sake of it. I'm not talking about setting an alarm for 4 a.m. just to brag on social media about how productive you are. I am talking about something much deeper. I am talking about gifting your day a silent start. A start where you decide what enters your mind, your heart, and your spirit first. Because what happens in the first hours of your morning determines absolutely everything that follows. If the first thing you do when you open your eyes is grab your phone and check the news, messages, or social media, you are handing over control of your day to other people. You are letting the outside world dictate your emotional state before you have even had the chance to connect with yourself. In Japan, there is a concept that doesn't have an exact translation, but it is lived in every home where true discipline exists. It is the idea that the sunrise is sacred, not because there is a written rule, but because the elders understood centuries ago that the morning is when the soul recalibrates. When you rise before the chaos, before the complaints, you are making a radical decision. Today, I will direct my life. Life will not direct me. And that decision, made every morning, day after day, week after week, month after month, transforms something inside you that you can't see, but everyone around you will feel. Your wife will feel it. Your husband will feel it. Your children will feel it. Because when a person starts the day in peace, that peace is contagious. It becomes the tone of the house, the way you say hello, the way you respond, and the way you look into the eyes of the people you love. I remember a time in my life when I would wake up rushing. The alarm would go off, and I was already late. I would get dressed on the run, eat breakfast standing up, leave the house without saying a proper goodbye, arrive at work frazzled, and spend the rest of the day feeling like a hamster spinning, but getting nowhere. And the worst part wasn't the physical exhaustion. The worst part was that when I got home at night, I had nothing left to give, I was empty, and my kids would talk to me, and I just wanted silence, and my wife would tell me something, and I just wanted her to finish so I could rest. And right there, in that exhaustion I mistook for responsibility, I was losing the most valuable thing I had. My work wasn't the most valuable thing. Not my bank account, not my projects, it was my family. It was those little eyes looking at me, waiting for Dad to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. And everything started to change when I decided to get up an hour earlier, just 1 hour, 60 minutes, of silence, of breathing, of connecting with myself, of gratitude, of inner preparation. And that hour became the most powerful hour of my life. The second habit is to organize your space before organizing your mind. This seems like a minor thing. It seems insignificant. It seems like something only obsessive people care about, but it's not. Yeah. Your outer space is an exact reflection of your inner space. When you live in clutter, you think in clutter. When your house is chaotic, your decisions are chaotic. When your room is a reflection of neglect, your self-esteem is too. In Japanese culture, before any activity, you clean. You clean. Before eating, you clean the table. Before working, you clean your desk. Before training, you clean the dojo. You don't clean after, you clean before. Why? Because the act of cleaning and organizing is not a domestic chore, it is a spiritual discipline. When you make your bed upon waking, what you are doing is telling your mind, I am a person who cares for what they have. I am a person who doesn't leave things half finished. I am a person who completes what they start. And that, which seems so simple, so basic, so elementary, has a brutal cumulative effect on the way you live. Because the person who makes their bed is the same person who organizes their schedule, is the same person who organizes their finances, is the same person who organizes their relationships, is the same person who organizes their priorities. Everything is connected. I have visited homes where people earn a lot of money but live in terrible emotional disorder. And I have visited very humble homes where everything is clean, everything is in its place, and you can breathe a peace that money could never buy. The difference is not in the resources. The difference is in the habits. The difference lies in the daily decision to care for your surroundings as an extension of yourself. And this is taught by example, not by shouting, not by lectures. When your child sees you tidying your space each morning, something is etched into their subconscious that no school will ever teach them. They learn that respect begins with the small things. They learn that discipline is not punishment, it is self-love. They learn that taking care of what you have is the most honest way to be grateful for what life has given you. There is something I always say and I never tire of repeating. The discipline that goes unseen is the kind that transforms the most. No one is going to applaud you for making your bed. No one is going to give you an award for washing the dishes. No one is going to recognize you for sweeping the yard at 5 a.m. But those invisible actions are what build the character that later shows in your big decisions. They are the silent bricks of a life with a foundation. The third habit, and this is one that changed my life in a way I didn't expect, is eating together. Sitting at the table as a family, without phones, without television, without distractions, just the people you love. The food that someone prepared with their own hands, and the conversation that arises when nothing is competing for your attention. In Japan, mealtime is sacred. It's not just feeding the body, it's feeding the bonds. It is the moment where the family looks each other in the eye, where children learn to listen, where parents learn to ask questions, where grandparents share stories that the new generations need to hear, even if they don't know it yet. But in Latin America, and I say this with all the love in the world because this is my land, because I grew up here, because I started my family here, we have lost that We have let the rush steal our table. We have let work take away our dinner. We have let screens replace our gazes. And when that happens, something breaks within the family that is very difficult to repair. Because children don't remember how much you earned. Children don't remember what car you drove. Children don't remember what brand of clothes you wore, but children remember if dad was at the table. Children remember if mom asked how their day went. Children remember if the family sat together, even if it was just to eat rice and eggs, but they sat together. I remember the meals in my childhood home. My father would sit down, fold his hands, close eyes for a moment, and give thanks in silence. It wasn't a long prayer. It wasn't a visible ritual. It was an instant of connection to something greater than himself. And then we would eat and talk and laugh and sometimes argue, but we were there, present, together. And that presence built something in me that no university ever taught me. The certainty that I belong to something. The certainty that there is a place in the world where I am loved not for what I do, but for who I am. That is built at the table. That is built in the simplest, most everyday moments. And when you decide to reclaim that habit, when you decide that at least once a day your family will sit together to eat, you are doing something revolutionary. You are going against the current of a world that tells you that you have no time, that productivity is more important than presence, that results matter more than relationships. And that silent revolution, that loving rebellion is what saves families. Whoa. Now I want to talk to you about the fourth habit. And this one requires a special kind of courage. The fourth habit is asking for forgiveness and forgiving before the day ends. In many Latin American families, there is a silent custom that destroys more than any shout. Holding a grudge. We were taught without words that apologizing is a sign of weakness, that whoever apologizes loses, that admitting a mistake is humiliating, and we grew up with that idea burned into our chests like a brand. But let me tell you something with complete clarity. Pride does not protect, it destroys. Pride does not strengthen, it isolates. Pride does not show character, it shows fear of being vulnerable, fear of being seen as imperfect, fear of them discovering that you are wrong too, that you fail too, that you need grace too. There are families where parents and children haven't spoken for years over things they don't even remember clearly anymore. There are marriages where the emotional distance began with a misunderstanding no one had the courage to clear up. There are siblings who live in the same city and act as if they lived on different planets. All because one day someone said something that hurt and no one wanted to be the first to say, "Forgive me, I was wrong." And that silence, which is sometimes disguised as dignity, is actually a prison you build yourself, brick by brick, every time you choose pride over love. In Japanese culture, there is something called reflection before sleep. It's not just reviewing what you did during the day, it's asking yourself, honestly, did I hurt anyone today? Was I unfair? Did I say something I shouldn't have? I acted out of anger instead of acting out of understanding. And if the answer is yes, the action is not to ignore it. The action is to make amends before the sun sets, before resentment takes root, before what was a small disagreement turns into a concrete wall between you and the person you love. I've had to ask for forgiveness many times. I have had to swallow my pride, look my wife in the eyes and say, I was unfair to you today. I was impatient, I was harsh. It wasn't my intention, but that doesn't change the fact that I hurt you, and it didn't make me less of a man. It didn't make me less strong. It made me more human. It made me more worthy of the love I receive. Because forgiveness is not an act of weakness. Forgiveness is an act of greatness. It is telling the other person, you are more important than my ego. Our bond is more valuable than my need to be right. And if you manage to establish that as a family habit, if you manage To create a space where asking for forgiveness is natural, where admitting mistakes is celebrated instead of punished, you will transform your home in ways you can't even imagine. Because children who grow up in a home where forgiveness is asked for are children who learn to have healthy relationships. They are children who are not afraid of vulnerability. They are children who know that making mistakes is not the end of the world, but the beginning of learning something new. The fifth habit is one that in the modern world has been almost completely lost, and its absence is causing damage that we don't yet fully understand. The fifth habit is to listen without interrupting, to truly listen, not listening while you think about what you are going to say back, not listening while you check your phone out of the corner of your eye, not listening with your mouth ready to correct, to advise, to judge, listening with your whole body, with your eyes on the other person, with an open heart, with your mouth closed, with the humility to understand that perhaps, just perhaps, the other person doesn't need your opinion, they need your presence. We live in an era where everyone speaks and no one listens, where social media rewards you for giving your opinion and punishes you for staying silent, where having a quick answer is confused with having intelligence. But let me tell you something I learned from my father, a man who spoke little, but when he spoke, everyone went quiet. The most powerful person in a room is not the one who speaks the most, it is the one who listens the best. Because listening is an act of respect. Listening is telling the other person what you feel matters, what you think has value, what you are going through deserves to be heard, deserved. How many times has your child wanted to tell you something and you cut them off because you were busy? How many times has your partner tried to tell you something important and you responded with a mechanical while looking at a screen, How many times has someone come to you with their heart in their hands and unintentionally you sent them back empty because you didn't know how to listen? I don't judge you. It has happened to me. It has happened more times than I'd like to admit, but what matters isn't how many times we fail. What matters is how many times we decide to try again and listen. True listening is a skill that is trained. It doesn't just happen. It is practiced, cultivated, and watered with patience and the genuine intention to understand others before wanting to be understood. In Japan, there is a practice taught from childhood that has to do with the way one receives the words of another. It is not just about staying silent while the other person speaks. It is about leaning your body slightly forward, nodding your head, looking into their eyes gently, and making small affirmations that tell the other person, I am here with you. I am with you in what you are saying. I am not just waiting for you to finish so I can speak. I am with you in this moment. And that way of listening, that total presence, is the foundation of any solid relationship. Marriages that last for decades don't last because they never fight, they last because they know how to listen to each other. Families that stay united don't stay that way because everything is perfect, they stay together because there is a safe space where each member can speak and be heard without fear of judgment, without fear of rejection, without fear of being minimized. The sixth habit is the one that generates the most resistance, especially in this generation that lives at full speed. The sixth habit is dedicating time to silence. When I say silence, I'm not talking about an absence of sound. I'm talking about an absence of stimuli. I am talking about disconnecting, even if just for 20 minutes a day, from everything that consumes your attention, from the phone, the news, social media, emails, messages, music, podcasts, series, everything. Being alone with yourself, with your breathing, with your unfiltered thoughts, with the emotions you normally drown out with noise. This is scary. I know, because when everything goes silent, what appears isn't always pretty. The fears you don't want to face appear, the sadness you don't want to feel appears, the questions you don't want to answer appear, the memories you don't want to revisit appear, but something else appears too. Clarity appears, Perspective appears. That inner voice that was always there, but that the noise of the world had silenced appears. That voice that knows what you really want. That voice that knows your true priorities. That voice that reminds you who you were before the world told you who you had to be, hidden. Silence is not empty. Silence is a space full of possibility. It is like the earth before planting. It seems there is nothing there, but beneath the surface, there is life waiting for the right moment to sprout. When you give that space to your mind, to your spirit, to your whole being, what sprouts is wisdom, is peace. It is the ability to make decisions not from reaction, but from reflection. I practice silence every morning. It is part of my early rising ritual. I sit, I close my eyes, I breathe, and I simply am. I don't meditate seeking enlightenment. I don't pray asking for miracles. I am just present, conscious, alive. And those minutes of silence are what give me the strength to face everything that comes after. They are what allow me to be patient when impatience wants to win. They are what allow me to respond with calm when anger wants to explode. They are what allow me to see my family not as an obligation, but as a gift that I don't deserve, but that I am grateful for every day. And I want you to understand something. Silence is not a luxury for people who have time, P. Silence is a necessity for people who want to live with intention. You don't need an hour, you don't need a spiritual retreat, you don't need a temple or a mountain. You need 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a corner of your home where no one interrupts you, and the decision to be there with yourself without running away, without distracting yourself, without filling that space with anything other than your own existence. And when you practice silence, something starts to happen in your family. Your children see you in stillness and learn that you don't have to fill every moment with activity. Your partner sees you at peace and catches that calm. Your home begins to have a different rhythm, a rhythm not dictated by haste, but by presence. A rhythm not dictated by stress, but by serenity. And that, believe me, is one of the greatest gifts you can give to the people you love. Now we reach the 7th habit, and I saved it for last because I consider it the most important of all. It is the habit that sustains the other 6. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. The 7th habit is serving without expecting recognition. Doing things for others without needing applause, without needing gratitude, without needing anyone to see what you do. Serving from anonymity. Serving from absolute humility. Serving because it is right, not because it is convenient. In a world that teaches you to showcase everything you do, where people film their acts of charity to upload to social media, where kindness has become a spectacle seeking validation, choosing to serve in silence is a revolutionary act. It is going against everything modern culture tells you to do. It is telling the ego, you are not in charge here. It is telling pride, I don't need to be seen to know that what I do has value, My father would wash the dishes. He would sweep the front porch before dawn. He would help the neighbors without being asked. And I never, ever saw him post any of that. I never saw him expect a thank you. I never saw him feel offended if no one recognized what he did. He served because he understood something that many of us struggle to grasp. Service is not a transaction. It is an expression of character. You don't serve to receive, you serve because that is who you are. And when you live that way, something extraordinary happens within you. The ego dissolves, the need for approval fades away, and the idea that your worth depends on what others think of you is destroyed. And what remains when all that is gone is a freedom that is priceless. The freedom to do good simply because it is good. The freedom to love simply because loving makes a complete human being, and that is taught in the family, that is passed on in the home. When your child sees you make coffee for your partner without being asked, when your child sees you pick up the neighbor's trash without saying a word, When your child sees you give up your seat, give away your coat, share your food without expecting anything in return, in those small moments that no one applauds, you are forming a human being who will change their environment. Not because they are famous, not because they are powerful, but because they learn that greatness is not measured by what you accumulate, but by what you give. I have traveled to many countries, met thousands of people, and spoken in packed auditoriums and empty halls. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that the happiest people I have known are not the richest, the most successful, or the most famous. The happiest people I have known are those who serve. They are the ones who wake up each morning thinking about how they can make life a little better for someone else. They are the ones who understand that life is not about accumulating for oneself, but about pouring out for others. But I want to be honest with you, these 7 habits are not easy. They are not automatic, and they don't work like a magic pill you take and everything changes the next day. They are daily decisions, internal battles, and choices you have to make over and over again, especially on days when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, and when the world pressures you to return to the old, the comfortable, the familiar. There will be mornings when your bed will call to you with an irresistible force, and getting up early will seem impossible. There will be days when the clutter will seem insignificant, and you will think it doesn't matter if you don't tidy up. There will be nights when pride will tell you that you are right and there is nothing to forgive. There will be moments when silence will seem like a waste of time and you will prefer to fill every second with noise. And in those moments, which are the ones that truly define who you are, you will have to choose not with emotion, not with motivation. You must choose with decision, with the firm conviction that what you are building is worth more than what you are sacrificing. Because what you are building is not a routine, it is a legacy. It is a legacy. It is the invisible inheritance you will leave to your children, your grandchildren, and the generations that come after you who may never know your name but will live with the consequences of your decisions. Every time you get up early, you are planting a seed of discipline in your lineage. Every time you organize your space, you are planting a seed of respect. Every time you sit down to eat with your family, you are planting a seed of unity. Every time you ask for forgiveness, you are planting a seed of humility. Every time you listen without interrupting, you are planting a seed of love. Every time you seek out silence, you are planting a seed of wisdom. And every time you serve without expecting anything in return, you are planting the most powerful seed of all. The seed of a character that does not corrupt with time or circumstances. I look around and I see a generation that has more information than ever, but less wisdom than ever. A generation that is more connected than ever, but lonelier than ever. A generation that has more opportunities than ever, but less direction than ever. And I don't think the solution is in another course, another seminar, or another self-help book. I believe the solution lies in returning to the basics, to the things our grandparents knew and we forgot in the name of progress. Waking up early is not a fad. It's what generations did to build nations, work the land, raise strong children, and keep families united for decades. Tidying your space is not an internet trend. It is what people did who understood that the external reflects the internal, reflects the internal. Eating as a family is not an outdated practice. It is the ritual that kept communities cohesive for centuries. Asking for forgiveness is not weakness. It is the backbone of any relationship meant to last longer than a fleeting passion. Listening is not passivity. It is the highest form of respect one human can offer another. Silence is not boredom. It is the laboratory where mental clarity and spiritual strength are forged. And serving is not submission, it is rising above the ego to touch something that transcends individuality. These 7 habits won't make your life easier. They will make your life deeper. They won't eliminate problems. They will give you the strength to face them with dignity. They won't make your family perfect. They will make your family real. A family where love is imperfect, yet constant, where you fail but ask for forgiveness, where you fall but get back up, where you fight but reconcile, where you cry but also laugh, where love is not a pretty feeling but a daily decision to be present, to be vulnerable, to give without measuring, and to forgive without conditions. I have made every mistake possible as a father, a husband, a son, a brother, and a human being. I have been impatient when I should have been patient. I have been harsh when I should have been gentle. I have been absent when I should have been present, wasn't. I have spoken when I should have been silent. I have been silent when I should have spoken. And I have learned through every mistake, every fall, every moment of shame and regret that life doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for consistency. It asks you to keep trying, to keep rising, to keep choosing the hard, but right path over the easy but empty one. And if you are hearing this and feel that it's too late, that you've already caused too much damage, that your family is beyond repair, that your children are already grown and you can't change what you didn't give them, I want to tell you something. With all my heart, it is never too late. Never. As long as you have a breath of life, you have the chance to start over, not to erase the past, because the past cannot be erased, but to write a new chapter, to make a new decision, to do today what you didn't do yesterday, to be today who you couldn't be yesterday. Tomorrow, when your alarm goes off, you have an opportunity. You can do the usual. Turn it off. Stay in bed. Start the day reacting. Or you can do something different. You can get up. You can seek silence. You can tidy your space. You can prepare something for your family. You can sit with them at the table. You can look them in the eyes and tell them with your presence what you perhaps never said with words. You are the most important thing I have. You don't need a grand gesture. You don't need a speech. You don't need to do something spectacular. You just need to be there. Constant, present, firm. Like a tree that doesn't move with the wind because its roots are deep. Your roots are your habits and what you do with them today will determine if your family will be a lush tree that gives shade to many generations or a loose branch that the first wind carries away. I choose to plant roots every morning, every day, with every small decision. And I invite you to do the same. Not for me, not for anyone else, but for you, for your family, for the legacy you want to leave, for the story you want to write. A story that perhaps no one will publish in a book, but that will live in the hearts of the people you love most. Because in the end, when everything passes, when the applause fades, when achievements are forgotten, when money ceases to matter, the only thing that will remain is what you sowed in your home. The only thing that will transcend is the love you gave, the forgiveness you offered, the presence you gifted, the example you left, and that has no price and no measure. That is what truly transforms a day and a family. Do not seek the applause of the world. Seek the peace of your home. Do not seek the recognition of strangers. Seek the proud gaze of your children. Do not seek to fill your life with things. Seek to fill your life with moments. Those silent moments that no one photographs, but that no one forgets, Those mornings where the coffee tastes different because you drank it without rushing. Those nights where forgiveness came before sleep, those afternoons where you listened without judgment and discovered that your child had a whole world inside that you didn't know. That is what habits do when they are born from the right place. They don't produce success. They produce meaning. They don't produce fame. They produce connection. They don't produce material wealth. They produce a wealth that cannot be stolen, that cannot be lost, that cannot be bought. The wealth of a life lived with purpose, with presence, with real love. Not the love in movies, not the love in songs, but the love of hands that serve unseen, the love of eyes that hear what words do not say, the love of feet that rise early, not out of obligation, but out of devotion. That is the love that transforms. That is the love that remains. That is the love your children will remember when you are no longer here. They will not remember your salary. They will not remember your title. They will remember your presence. They will remember you. Consistency. They will remember that dad got up early, that mom organized the house with love, that the family sat down to eat together, that in that house they asked for forgiveness without shame, that in that house they listened without rushing, that in that house there was silence, and that silence was not absence but fullness, that in that house they served, because serving was the way to love. And when your children remember all that, they will do this same with their children and their children with theirs. And so, without you knowing, without you seeing, you will have changed not only your day and your family, but entire generations that will carry within them the seed of what you planted. In silence, without an audience, without cameras, without applause. Only with the firm conviction that the small things done with love are infinite, more powerful than the great things done with ego. 7 habits, 7 daily decisions, 7 seeds you can plant today, and only one life to do it. Do not waste it waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. It's this morning. It's tonight. It's at this table. It's this conversation. It's this hug you haven't given yet. It's this apology you haven't asked for yet. It's this silence you haven't sought. It's this act of service you haven't performed yet. Everything is there waiting for you. You just need to take the first step. And the first step is always the same. Decide. Decide that today is going to be different. Decide that today something new begins. Decide that today, with however much or little you have, you will live with intention, with purpose, with love. And that decision, repeated every morning, is the most powerful habit of all.